Hey, what's up, guys? So, I'm packing up, getting ready to go on an elk hunt in Montana. And this hunt is a little different for me because I'm going complete as a spotter supporter. This elk hunt is Melissa has the tag, not me, so I'm I'm going along to simply support her and spot for her and hopefully help her drag an elk out of the backcountry. So another part of this hunt that's slightly different for us is instead of camping out every night, the area we're hunting is only about 15 minutes from the closest little town. So we have actually opted to stay in a hotel each night instead of spike camping it and sleeping in sleeping bags in freezing conditions. So we're kind of treating ourselves a little bit on this hunt. A lot of times when you were hunting in Idaho and Colorado, we're just way far back in the backcountry, and we'll base out of the trucks, go out and spike camp 2 and 3 nights at a time, come back to trucks and resupply. So long story short, man, this time our base camp is actually going to be a little local hotel. So gear wise, I always try to explain to guys that backcountry hunting is hiking with a gun, and so you can pretty much source all of your gear from REI or one of the high-speed hunting companies that makes all of this type of clothing available. And I'll basically start head to toe, and then we'll talk about the backpack we're using, knives, lights, guns, tripods, spike, and scopes, kind of in that order. Because that is, oddly enough, the way I see things being in precedence. Of course I need a gun, of course I need a laser rangefinder, of course I need all those things, but I'm not going to have a successful hunt unless I actually have the clothing, footwear, and that sort of gear to keep me mostly comfortable and not experiencing hypothermia or something like that, because that would certainly ruin a hunt. So to me, my clothing, footwear, that sort of stuff is going to be my priority first, and then of course, if you see an animal and if you get a shot at them, that's when the guns and stuff start coming into play and becoming the priority. So first and foremost, man, I have a waterproof, or at least mostly water resistant, rolling duffel bag. I learned a long time ago that your gear just in transit or at the truck or something like that, if it rains, can easily get soaking wet. Now you're dealing with that. So this one's made by Thule, right? Nice big waterproof bag. Airports and airlines require bags that only weigh 50 pounds. I can easily put 100 pounds of lightweight gear in this bag. So that's important right there. Now, clothing wise, it's always base layer, mid-weight layer, heavyweight layers, and then outer layers. And you might have to double up on some of the mid-weight or even heavyweight layers to stay nice and insulated. So, first and foremost, I'm going to be running lightweight next to skin base layers. And again, some of these are from the hunting wear company Canis. I picked up some of their stuff over the years. It's really nice, and at the same time, not as expensive as some of the other stuff out there. It's a good camo pattern, helps blend in most everywhere I hunt in North America at least. But yeah, so base layer is pretty simple. Typically I'll do long sleeves, so on and so forth. Now, when it comes to the bottom half, these full zip up, that you can actually drop your trousers and put these on, pull your pants up, you're ready to go. So what it is, like I said, full zip. And these things are the type of base layer I wish I had when I was doing so much patrolling and that sort of stuff back in the Army. Makes things really convenient. You don't have to take your boots off. So, and they're not much more than just a regular type of mid-weight base layer, whatever. So they're worth the investment. And these are by Kuiu, however you say that company's name. But even still, while they're known to be a little bit more expensive than many companies, these guys, they're affordable. So that's a good takeaway with the base layers. Again, moving on up to a hooded heavyweight sweat type layer, basically a slim fitting hoodie. Everything's fitted right. Like my base layers are typically larges, and as I get into my heavier weight layers, I go with extra large. So slim fitting to looser fitting as we go. And of course, my outer layer. This is like I said, Canis's outdoor pants, integrated knee pads, and it's water resistant and certainly wind resistant, but not quite like a waterproof outer shell. So good, really good for your colder climates. You can wear just these down to probably 35 degrees on a spot and stalk type hunt because you're moving so much. Of course, a beanie. Right, this is a smart wool beanie picked up at REI or whatever. Just to keep the head nice and warm. And then this is a neck gaiter that of course I can turn into a beanie or whatever. Just a little extra to put around the neck. If there's one thing I've discovered over the years, if your neck and wrists get cold, you're going to get cold. So I value a neck gaiter a little bit more than some of my buddies. Again, more layers. And that one thing to think about is, your medium weight layers, your heavyweight layers, they're not going to be next to your skin. So you can wear those 2 and 3 days in a row without their ability to wick, their ability to keep you warm, being compromised by, the nastiness from your sweat and just, the shedding of your own skin cells. So you'll see I'll have 2 or 3 for a week-long hunt. I have 2 or 3 sets of mid-weight layers, 1 set of heavyweight layers, but my next to skin layers, I'm going to have a set for each day because you are sweating and moving around on this type of hunt. So I'll change those out daily most of the time. Then, of course, our insulation layers. So down pants. These are probably some of the best investments I've made. These guys are from this is from Black Orvis. Not too expensive. I think they were just over $100. And I'll tell you, when you're sitting and it's 20 degrees out and the wind's blowing, some down pants, they become worth every penny. So just in recent years, these have become available. Just like the base layer I showed you, they're fully zippable, so you can just slap them on right over everything you're wearing. Yeah, man, down breeches go a long way. A lot of companies are making them like 3/4, so they just go down to your boots. If you're wearing like taller boots or whatever, man, I have a set of those, but I prefer the full length ones. They just kind of create any of those or eliminate any of those cold spots that you might get between the 3/4 and the top of your boots. I run a polyfill jacket, so this is good for down to about 30, 25 degrees-ish if you're moving. Synthetic, so it retains, its heat even when it gets a little wet, not drenched, no different than down. And so that's a pretty good jacket there. If I anticipate it getting down a little bit colder, this is a full down jacket, 100% goose down. And of course, this is actually an extra large, and I can wear it over top the polyfill jacket if we're seeing those the temperatures getting down into teens or the zeros. Down mittens. Man, the only thing worse than cold fingers is cold toes. So I'll run down mittens with a set of lightweight fleece gloves underneath them. And all I do with the fleece gloves is cut my trigger finger out of them. And then I can wear these guys. They have these little retainers on them. So, excuse me, when it does come time, all I've got to do is pull these guys off. I won't lose them, right? They're still dummy corded to me. So that's a pretty cool thing. And I've just, the reason I like the whole dummy cord setup or whatever is I've seen guys, I've done it myself, dump cold weather gloves and you set up your position and then you have to move and the gloves get left behind. And if you remember them, if it's cold out enough to remind you need to go back and get your gloves, now you got to go back and find them, so on and so forth. So anyway, when looking at your outer gloves, you can either find the ones that come with them or fashion your own out of 550 cord or something like that. Rain and wind, right? So this is that outer shell, rain gear or waterproof top and bottom. And again, these are extra, or the jacket is an extra large, and these guys, I think they're like 36s instead of my typical 34s, so I can pull them over top of everything I'm wearing, to include the poofy down bridges. So that, that's my clothing. That's going to be all the different temperatures from, what we're expecting is highs in the 50s and lows down in the teens or even the zeros first thing in the morning. So got to have all the layers to cover that. So of course, our feet. I have socks, just like with layers, I have socks from pretty lightweight stuff all the way to really thick, heavyweight, mountain, cold weather socks. Now, I am a Smart Wool snob when it comes to socks. I wore Smart Wool socks, 20 years ago, and since then, that's all I've ever worn. They're great for wicking. They'll keep your feet warm. Just like any socks, you do have to rotate them. Once they get wet or grimy just from your feet sweating and shelling, skin cells, then you got to rotate your socks every day. So you have to plan for that. And so, I'll have, 4 or 5 sets of heavyweight socks and freaking, 4 or 5 sets of lightweight socks and medium weight socks. Of all the things I carry, the number one thing that I have the most of is going to be socks. Now, boot wise, these are a set of Saliwas. I don't skip on boots. Potentially these 2 sets of boots, I bought them 2 years ago. These are potentially the last 2 sets of boots I will ever purchase in my life. A couple $100 pair of boots are worth spending your money on. Last thing you want, I've seen soles and stuff like that come off of cheaper boots while you're out there. So I opt for slightly more high quality boots. Anyway, these are Saliwas. They are Gore-Tex, but uninsulated. So this is good, like down into just below freezing temperatures with a good set of cold weather socks. They are not to be confused with insulated boots. There's a huge difference between uninsulated boots and insulated boots and what they will do for you when those temperatures are sub-freezing and they're going to stay that way for days on end. So these are, medium weight boots, good ankle support and that sort of thing for hiking around in the hills, but they are uninsulated, and you got to watch the weather to determine if we're going to stick with these or go with the heavyweights. Now, these are Kinetrex. Kinetrex boots are certainly top quality, and you do have to pay for them a little bit, but like I said, I expect these boots to last me the rest of my life, which hopefully will be about another 40 years or so. Cross our fingers on that one. But yeah, these are heavyweight, very supportive, and these dudes are 1,000 grams of Thinsulate. 400 is typically enough. 800 is really good, so I went with 1,000. These guys will keep my feet warm well down into below zero temperatures, like minus 10s and stuff like that, with a good pair of socks. So, and they're not really heavy, I mean, when you're in that kind of cold weather, you're wearing, 15, 20 pounds of clothes, a 3-pound boot on each foot isn't really going to change much, not to mention your backpack and all that gear is going to be pretty heavy. So you're going to be moving pretty slow. Again, I'm prioritizing keeping my feet warm. Gaiters. If snow or water crossings is something that's you're going to have to worry about, throwing these on over top of your boots is a huge plus, right? Keeping the, that's kind of the downside with Gore-Tex boots. If water gets in them, it'll hold them, or hold that water. So gaiters, man. Freaking, you pull them up over your boots, freaking ratchet them down just below the knee, and they're going to help keep all that water and or snow out of your boots. And these are a Kenetrek brand. I bought gaiters before that didn't really fit my calves very well, and I don't have really big calves per se or anything like that. So gaiters, man, you want them to be big enough to go on top of not just your boots, but any layers that you have on. So plan for that. You don't want to be them to not be able to, attach all the way around when you've got all your cold weather layers on. So that's a consideration when buying your gaiters. So this trip, like I said, because we're not staying out overnight, I don't need my huge pack. Typically, I'm running a 7,500 cubic inch backpack when I'm going out for 2 and 3 days in the backcountry in cold weather. Since we are, running or resting overnight at a hotel, I'm just going to be running a decent sized day pack. And in this case, this is a Kuyu day pack. A lot of their packs are hunting specific, so that my gun attaches to the side really well here. Melissa has almost an identical pack, so she'll be able to put the rifle on the side of the pack, and then this little, holder here, the way we like to run our rifles on the side of our packs. Of course, you're going to put your snackies and all that sort of things in here. It's got long enough straps that when we do kill the animal, we're still going to be able to attach, full quarters of meat here on this pack and hike it out. So even though it's not a very big pack, it still will accommodate everything we need to do as far as what we're carrying and hopefully what we'll be carrying out to the truck. So, this is a 2,300 cubic inch pack. So again, not huge, but in here, I'm going to have all the potential layers that I'm going to need for the day, a couple backups, an extra pair of socks, that sort of thing. And in the pack, it's going to be, I'll put that stuff in this compression sack, waterproof compression sack, so it takes up less space on the pack and that sort of thing. It doesn't move around as much. I really like, no matter what size pack I'm running and what's in there, I really like waterproof compression bags. And this one's a Sea to Summit. Yeah, Sea to Summit, and you can get these at REI. So even though, we're not staying out, I'm still taking a Jetboil stove, for coffee, for that afternoon meal. Typically speaking, I'm going to carry in, I'm going to eat one mountain meal per day and some protein bars and some snacks. Melissa, she doesn't like doing the 1 meal a day thing. She would not have done well in Ranger School. She will carry 2 meals, sometimes 3 per day. But anyway, it really just boils down to how much food you think you need to stay happy for the day versus extra weight in the pack. Again, since I'm not toting a backpack and all those things, I don't really need, to worry about weight of my food. Of course, extra batteries for my headlamp. I'm not leaving too far from civilization without a headlamp. They just, if you kill the animal at last light, you're going to need it. Signaling in an emergency, etc., etc. Just be able to see where you're walking better at nighttime if it's truly pitch black out. Like I said, some extra batteries for that. So, knife-wise, man, I've really come to like the Outdoor Edge little EDC knives. They, switchable blades, razor blades. I butchered an elk last year, and I used only 2 blades. I butchered 3 small North Carolina whitetails on one blade a couple of years ago. So, yeah, man, the Outdoor Edge line of knives, they're great. I actually carry one of these every day as like a EDC or whatever you want to call it. And like I said, man, you can see all you had to do is hit the little button on the side, blade comes out, swap it out for a new one. All right, you got a nice, great razor blade for working on your animal. Extra blades for that. Now, that pretty much sums it up. Oh, the only thing I'm leaving out is my bladder, water bladder. So I have 3-liter bladders. I think that's about as big as most companies make. You can always carry less if you think you're only going to need 2 liters of water for that day or something like that. But I go with a 3-liter bladder inside my backpack. No big deal there. It's not pictured, or I don't have it here because it's actually I washed it, and since the last time I used it hunting last year, and it's hanging up inside. So moving on to the hardware. Of course, I don't see grizzly bear being a big threat where we're hunting. They are nearby, but the landowner says that he saw a grizzly bear on their property when he was a kid, so 20 years ago or whatever. So I'm not really worried about that. So I'm just carrying a Glock 43, over here at 4 o'clock, nice comfortable leather holster. And again, that's probably more for self-defense, looking at like, maybe a cougar. We will have the 300 PRC, so do I really even need to carry a pistol? Probably not, statistically speaking, but I still carry a pistol almost everywhere I go, so it's going hunting with me as well. Just don't need a Magnum or anything like that for where we're hunting. So, like I told you guys, I'm kind of going in the support role, so I'll be carrying a tripod. In this case, I'll be using the 2 Vets, the Ruck model, lightweight tripod, to support either my binos or lightweight 35 power Vortex spot and scope. I have some bigger, heavier ones. In this role, I'm really just going to use this to get a better look at something we picked up on the binos, to decide whether or not, is it a bull worth chasing or something like that. And it's lightweight. Reality is, with a 25 power scope on our gun, I can spot pretty well just with it. So these days I've kind of gone away from carrying my bigger spotting scopes, like the 50 powers and 60 powers, just because, like with elk especially, you can see their antlers good enough. You can discern between cow and bull elk well enough just with like 33 or even 25 power. So that's why I'm not carrying a much larger spotting scope. So Melissa's running the Really Right Stuff Ascent tripod. Of course, she'll have on her backpack her shoulder bag. Right, that's pretty much the only support bag we carry in the woods. This one's by Armageddon Gear, and this one's when you're shooting off that tripod, goes up underneath your arm to take this gap out. A lot of wobble when we're shooting off a tripod comes from that firing arm out there just flapping in the wind. So that support bag clears that up. When I am staying out overnight, it also does really well as a pillow, so that's why I like this bag so much. I can still use it as a support bag shooting off a tree or something like that if I needed to. It will do that job as well, but it's lightweight as opposed to like your competition, your heavy type of support bags. So great little piece of equipment there. And our bino harnesses. So this is a Sika bino harness. I think they call it like their mountain bino harness. I like it a lot. It's got pouches on either side. It's very, very close to a chest rig that I might have worn in the military or something like that. Magnetic style flap for the binos, and we both, Melissa and I, like I said, our chest kits are going to be almost identical here. Vortex Fury laser rangefinder binos. I really like laser rangefinder binos because it combines 2 pieces of equipment. I'm already going to have my binos up looking. I don't want to have to grab a laser rangefinder like a mono and shoot it separately. So they're pretty cost effective. There's 2 versions. There's one with the applied ballistics software in them. So basically you can program your rifle into it and it'll give you your firing solutions, your elevations in the heads-up display in the binos. That's what these are. Admittedly, I don't really use that feature because To get the most accurate up to date, you have to Bluetooth it to your Kestrel. Long story short, I am just as fast with using my Kestrel than I am trying to use that the software in the binos. The other set, the other version of the Vortex Furies, they're about $900, I believe. Same laser, same glass quality, same thing. They just don't have the Applied Ballistics software. So I highly, highly recommend them. There are other versions, other companies that make laser rangefinder binos, and I know Swarovski, I believe it is. They're just over $3,000, and I've put them up against these, and frankly, in some cases, they didn't even perform as well. So anyway, now their binos have other features as well that you're paying for, features that I'll never use. So anyway, that's why I like the Vortex Furies. Of course, Vortex has got a great replacement guarantees and warranties and stuff like that. A friend of mine did get a set of these, and they were off by about 8 meters. Vortex replaced them right then and there. No big deal. Of course, me and Melissa both will be running a Kestrel, same data, same gun in each. That way we have a backup. Most likely I'm going to be ranging and getting all of her elevation for her like a spotter would while she sets up her gun, right? That way all she's got to do is dial and shoot. So that's kind of how we'll run it. We practice that way together as far as spotter shooter type team goes. So we're already set up for all that. So again, the only reason she's running a lot of this stuff is for redundancy in case one of them does fail in the field. Over here on the left side, this is where I'm keeping my ammo. Unless I have positive control of my rifle, in other words, it's in my hand, I'm not putting a magazine in it. I've seen too often, guns on backpacks, guys lose their magazines, right? And so, long story short, once we're setting up, we both know, we both practice, that's getting jammed in the mag, into the gun, and ready to go. And that is the only thing I'm putting in that pouch, right? I know I'm going to open this and pull that mag out, so nothing else is in there that's going to inhibit my loading of a rifle. I'm not going to drop something else or something like that. It's the only thing that's in this pouch. It's worth mentioning, I run my Kestrel on the outside of my bino harness, so it can constantly update the environment. Its sensors open and clear there. If for some reason I put my jacket on over this, right, I'll pull the Kestrel out and let it be outside. That way it's not reading temperatures of 98, 99 degrees inside of my jacket. I use a little lanyard, retractable lanyard. It's a like you'll see on medical, like medics will use them on their snips and scissors, their shears, or fly fishermen use these on all of their little tools that they use while they're fishing or whatever. So you can get that sort of lanyard at fly fishing shop, and they're also great for putting like little flashlights and stuff like that on it. So anyway, that's full setup with the Kestrel there. Then over here in the little quote-unquote admin pouch, just like I would in the military, on person I keep my survival type kit. So I've got, of course, a compass, and again, dummy corded, right? I don't want to lose anything. Only dummies lose stuff that's not corded to themselves, so tying everything off. Same deal, GPS, dummy corded. And I don't really need a GPS where we're going. I know the property. Cell service is intermittent. If I went up and climbed up one of the hills or one of the mountains that's on the property, I'm going to get service. But still, I keep it in here. Again, it only weighs a few ounces. Better to have and not need than to need and not have. And the same goes with my Zoleo emergency beacon / text messenger, satellite text messaging system. If one of us gets hurt, right, let's face it, if as strong and as fit as Melissa is, if I fall and break a leg, she is not going to be able to, extract me or get me to the truck. So this guy, we can set it off. It's going to ping to, local rescue authorities and give them a lat long of our position. And we can text to those emergency services and describe injuries and that sort of thing. And even if you're just in the backcountry and want to text at home with the wife and the kids, or the husband and the kids, ladies, you know, a Zolio or the Spot type satellite text device, you know, they help everyone at home know you're safe and vice versa. So that's why I keep that guy. And they work all around the world. And of course, little wrist compass, backup to the backup to the backup, pace planning, all that. Yeah, I still can't get away from having a little bit of redundancy in my life. So that's our chest kit. Like I said, both Melissa and I are running almost exactly the same equipment in our chest rigs. So the rifle, and again, this guy really only becomes important once you've seen an animal that you want to take. This guy, admittedly, I'm a little bit of a long-range gun snob, right, quote unquote. This is a custom gun built by my very good friend Lee over at Stumpy's Custom Guns, and chambered in 300 PRC, which is a modernized 300 Win Mag. It allows us, you know, 300 Win Mag, 190 grain, 215 grain if you have a chamber built for those bullets. That's about as much as you're going to get out of 300 Win Mag. We can shoot 220, 225, even 230 grain bullets out of this guy as fast as a 300 Win Mag is going to push 190 grain bullets. So a modernized 300 Win Mag, much more energy. There's a big difference between 190 and 220 grain bullets, or even 210, 212 grain bullets. So yeah, this is a true bore precision action, very tough, strong action. I'm not worried about wearing this action out, even shooting the magnums. Proof Research barrel. This is a Silencer Co. Omega suppressor, and I'll talk specifically about hunting with a suppressor. MPA, or Masterpiece Arms, ultralight chassis, Harris bipod, and a Anarchy Outdoors vertical grip. So, of course, a Night Force 5 to 25 ATACR. Again, I don't like to skimp. You know, the only other scope that I own is a Leupold Mark V, and that's on a 6.5 Creedmoor hunting rifle that looks exactly like this guy. I have 4 of these rifles. Well, I have 3 in my position and a 4th one being built, and they're all twinsies. They look exactly alike. The only difference is I do have a Kelby's action in the 6.5 Creedmoor, and I'm having a new 7mm built, and it'll have a Kelby's action as well. But either way, the gun, even with the suppressor, weighs in at about 12 pounds. So pretty lightweight for a Magnum. The suppressor. So the Mega 300s do come with the baffled in, so a little bit of braking feature there. There's quite a substantial difference in recoil between this and a suppressor that doesn't have that sort of brake. So I highly recommend for your hunting rifle, if you are running suppressed, to run, if you're running a Magnum cartridge with a lot of recoil, then, you know, pick a suppressor that has an integrated style brake. So I hunt with a suppressor because twice now I've had other guys in my hunting party have time to shoot after I shot initially. In other words, the animals, you know, at 4 or 5, and in one of our cases last year shooting elk, we were at 670 meters, and myself and my buddy both put elk down, and the herd was confused. They were definitely alerted, but they didn't run off. So my buddy's wife was able to hop behind a gun and get a shot on her elk. So we put 3 elk on the ground right off the bat, first light. And so anyway, that's kind of a good reason to hunt with a suppressor. I had a very similar situation hunting Barbary sheep, Aoudad, down in New Mexico. And so it's a good thing. Also, you know, what if you miss? So if you miss your animal with a suppressor, it might give you a second shot. So there's all that consideration. To me, the extra pound, pound and a half, whatever a suppressor weighs, is worth it. Of course, this year I'm running 212 grain Hornady ELDX factory match ammo. It's a great round. I've watched it work. Previously through this gun, I was running a custom load from Copper Creek, 210 grain Burger, hybrid hunter. You know, when it comes to one of these guys, any of your high-end Burger, Hornady, those hunting rounds are going to get the job done. So, of course, I shoot a match round for that consistency for the long range. And then, of course, last but not least, little, this is a Fix-It-Sticks toolkit. That'll be, you know, this will be in the truck just in case something gets loose or got to replace something or tighten up a screw or whatever. But yeah, that pretty much sums it up. You know, I talk to guys often about hunting, and it can seem daunting about getting started. And I recommend just, you know, if you think about it, like it's just cold weather hiking with some firearms. That's all it really is until you identify the animal you actually want to stalk and shoot. If, you know, the reality is, man, hunting out west in these environments is potentially dangerous. So if you don't have someone that you can tag along with on your first hunt, you know, it might make sense to save up and hire a guide and go learn from that guide, or even just an outfitter. And on that tier, if you think about it, guides are typically going to provide a little bit more of the services. So an outfitter might just put you in place and get you out there on the animals or something like that. But really, it's not as daunting as many people think. And the reward that you get from hunting, you know, working for your food, there's something about the food that you have hunted, worked for, processed, you know, that you had to drag out, man, it just tastes better. You know, people always ask me, what does elk taste like? Elk, of course. It would be no different. Like, well, how does it compare to beef? Well, it doesn't. You wouldn't compare pork to beef. You don't compare chicken to beef. Just because it is a big four-legged red meat animal, it's different. So I don't compare the two. But again, whether it's a deer, an elk, when you put the hard work in and you've been out there and you've been cold, man, there's just something about it. When you fix that elk tenderloin up, or, you know, I always try to eat the heart the night of, you know, there's just something better about that meat, and you can literally taste it. So yeah, I hope this helps. Good luck on your hunting endeavors this year and next, and every hunt you ever go on. Again, I hope this helps. If you have any questions, feel free to DM us, email us. And like I said, good luck on your next hunt.